Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. And if you're a true General Hospital fan, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get started with today's video. General Hospital, GH, spoilers for Friday, July 24th indicate that Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, will return home from his trip with Danny Morgan, Asher Antonazan, and make a pitch to Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson. Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watros, will also pull a surprise, while Jocelyn Jax, Eden McCoy, interrogates Jack Brennan, Chris McKenna. For starters, Jason and Danny's homecoming is approaching. That will allow Jason to speak with Drew by the boathouse and advocate for a new chapter, one that includes reconciliation between Drew and Danny. Jocelyn will question Brennan about whether he is hunting for Ross Cullum's, Andrew Hawk's, secrets or attempting to retrieve his own. Brennan may not say much to Jocelyn, but he will eventually contact Nina with some upsetting news. Jack lacks the leverage Nina and Willow Kane, Caitlin McMullen, require to control Drew because he has yet to return the black box. Nina's wheels have already begun to revolve due to Drew's wheelchair's proximity to the water's edge. Nina is probably thinking about how easy it would be to shove Drew and set the setting for a drowning. Drew will understand she is out of alternatives after hearing from Brennan and will reveal that he can speak as he goads Nina. It appears Nina will carry out her plan to force Drew into the lake, so the week will close on a wet and crazy note. Meanwhile, Willow will meet with Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, who will challenge her on Drew's communication tools and question whether she wants her spouse to have a voice. Next, Lucas Jones, Van Hansis, will apologize to someone, but he'll also give Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thiebaud, some tough love on GH. Britt will continue to grumble about her increased responsibilities and terrible work schedule, but Lucas will tell her that she should be glad to have her job back at all. If Britt doesn't want to be there, Lucas will remind her that she can go. Britt will realize she needs to tone down her complaints and will eventually respond to Jason's surprise hospital entrance. Britt will be overjoyed to see Jason, but he may break her heart if he decides not to pursue their romance. At the PCPD, Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, may appear suspicious when he asks Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, if this is a test or a favor. Dante may confess it's a combination of the two and attempt to reconcile with Chase again, as Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, desires. According to General Hospital spoilers, Chase and Dante will make some headway in their efforts to rebuild their shattered friendship, but more hardship awaits them on the ABC drama. CDL is the place to go for amazing General Hospital spoilers and news, so make us your go-to GH resource. General Hospital, GH, spoilers for Friday, July 24th indicate that Jason Morgan, Steve Burton, will return home from his trip with Danny Morgan, Asher Antonazan, and make a pitch to Drew Kane, Cameron Matheson. Nina Reeves, Cynthia Watros, will also pull a surprise, while Jocelyn Jax, Eden McCoy, interrogates Jack Brennan, Chris McKenna. For starters, Jason and Danny's homecoming is approaching. That will allow Jason to speak with Drew by the boathouse and advocate for a new chapter, one that includes reconciliation between Drew and Danny. Jocelyn will question Brennan about whether he is hunting for Ross Cullum's, Andrew Hawk's, secrets or attempting to retrieve his own. Brennan may not say much to Jocelyn, but he will eventually contact Nina with some upsetting news. Jack lacks the leverage Nina and Willow Kane, Caitlin McMullen, require to control Drew because he has yet to return the black box. Nina's wheels have already begun to revolve due to Drew's wheelchair's proximity to the water's edge. Nina is probably thinking about how easy it would be to shove Drew and set the setting for a drowning. Drew will understand she is out of alternatives after hearing from Brennan and will reveal that he can speak as he goads Nina. It appears Nina will carry out her plan to force Drew into the lake, so the week will close on a wet and crazy note. Meanwhile, Willow will meet with Elizabeth Baldwin, Rebecca Herbst, who will challenge her on Drew's communication tools and question whether she wants her spouse to have a voice. Next, Lucas Jones, Van Hansis, will apologize to someone, but he'll also give Britt Westbourne, Kelly Thiebaud, some tough love on GH. Britt will continue to grumble about her increased responsibilities and terrible work schedule, but Lucas will tell her that she should be glad to have her job back at all. If Britt doesn't want to be there, Lucas will remind her that she can go. Britt will realize she needs to tone down her complaints and will eventually respond to Jason's surprise hospital entrance. Britt will be overjoyed to see Jason, but he may break her heart if he decides not to pursue their romance. At the PCPD, Harrison Chase, Josh Swickard, may appear suspicious when he asks Dante Falconeri, Dominic Zamprogna, if this is a test or a favor. Dante may confess it's a combination of the two and attempt to reconcile with Chase again, as Anna Devane, Finola Hughes, desires. According to General Hospital spoilers, Chase and Dante will make some headway in their efforts to rebuild their shattered friendship, but more hardship awaits them on the ABC drama. The sun fell low over the waterfront in Port Charles, throwing lengthy shadows across the old streets where secrets would emerge like bodies from the lake. Jason Morgan walked off the plane with his son Danny at his side, the weight of the previous months easing slightly as they returned home. The return was more than simply a homecoming. It signaled the start of a new chapter for Jason and his brother Drew, one laden with unresolved tensions and frail family relationships that had been tried repeatedly. Jason's boots landed on the sidewalk outside the Quartermaine mansion, followed by Danny, who was carrying a rucksack over one shoulder. During their absence, the youngster matured beyond his years, and his eyes reflected this. "Dad, do you think Uncle Drew will be okay with us just showing up like this?" Danny inquired, his voice uncertain. Jason caressed his son's hair, a rare sweet grin breaking through his stern demeanor. "We are family, kid. That's what matters now." But Jason knew his reunion with Drew would be difficult. Their brotherhood had always been difficult, with shared history, betrayals, and now the lingering effects of Drew's recent tragedy. Meanwhile, across town at Crimson Magazine's headquarters, Nina Reeves paced the floor, her mind racing with a crazy plan. Her wild move had been in the works for days, ever since Drew's recuperation began to accelerate in ways that worried her. Drew Quartermaine, once helpless and reliant, was regaining his strength, his quick mind piecing together bits that could unravel everything Nina had tried so hard to keep hidden, particularly her fragile relationship with her daughter Willow and the truths surrounding the Black Box tragedy. Nina had always been a survivor, rising from the streets of Nixon Falls to the top echelons of Port Charles society. But Drew's return of form presented an existential threat. She couldn't allow him reveal secrets that could collapse her world. Her wild idea? A desperate, high-stakes confrontation on the Quartermaine estate. She would entice him into a vulnerable moment by the pool, test the limits of their uneasy relationship, and possibly create an accident to buy her time. It was irresponsible, the result of stress and maternal instinct gone astray, but Nina saw no other option. "I have to protect my family," she whispered to herself before grabbing her coat and walking out, her heart hammering with a mix of terror and determination. At the same moment, Jocelyn Jacks found herself in a darkly lit interrogation room at the WSB safe house, facing off with Jack Brennan. The atmosphere was laden with unsaid accusations. Jocelyn, Carly Corinthos' fiery daughter, had burning concerns about her mother's entanglements, Brennan's true motives, and the hazardous environment she'd been drawn into. "What exactly are you hiding from my mother?" Jocelyn demanded, her arms crossed and her eyes as intense as those of her relatives. She probed him mercilessly, looking for flaws and demanding clarity about the Black Box recovery and his role in recent events. Brennan relaxed back in his chair, a cool smile spreading across his lips despite the pressure. "Jocelyn, you are playing a deadly game. Some truths aren't meant for everyone." But Joss refused to back down. She probed him on his relationship with Nina, the unpleasant news he was about to deliver, and whether his loyalty was with the WSB or his own agenda. Their debate was fraught with tension, a battle of wits that left both sides frightened yet unwilling to concede. Brennan gave snatches of terrible news, hints of threats hovering over Port Charles, prospective revelations that may drag Carly deeper into the fray, but Jocelyn responded with skepticism and counter-questions. Back at the Quartermaine estate, Jason and Danny's entrance shook the family. Elizabeth Baldwin was present, greeting everyone warmly, but her mind was elsewhere. She was questioning Willow about her recent decisions and detecting duplicity swirling about Nina and Drew. Dante Falconeri arrived shortly after, putting Chase through a subtle test of allegiance and preparation, while Lucas apologized for previous mistakes. The mansion was alive with nuanced conversations, each character navigating their own personal storms. Jason sought Drew out in the study, where the two brothers faced each other across a cluttered desk. "We've got a new chapter ahead, brother," Jason stated slowly and steadily. Drew, still recuperating but sharper than ever, nodded, but his eyes were wary. Their common history, which included dual disclosures and violent rivalries, hung heavily. Drew's recuperation had worried Nina, but it now allowed him to tackle the cover-ups head-on. "I remember more every day," Drew said. "And some of it points straight to Nina." Jason listened, his protective instincts kicking in, knowing that any move against Nina could destabilize the entire family. Nina arrived at the estate under the guise of checking on Willow, but her real aim was Drew. She discovered him by the pool later that evening, the water glistening under the lights. Her sudden action was a maelstrom of emotion. "Drew, we need to talk, really talk," she said, her voice full of desperation. She directed the talk toward reconciliation, but as tensions built, she made a planned push, literally and metaphorically, to unbalance him near the pool's edge. It wasn't open aggression, but rather a desperate attempt to break his momentum, forcing a vulnerability that could purchase her silence. Drew caught himself and turned the tables on Nina, asking a chilling question. "What's wrong, Nina?" "Bad news." Their meeting revealed raw emotions, secrets leaking like water from a damaged dam. Jocelyn, meanwhile, concluded her grilling of Brennan with an uncomfortable partnership. She had pushed him hard, extracting pledges and warnings, but the awful news he imparted about coming threats left her disturbed. She dashed back into the center of town, her thoughts focused on her mother and the web of falsehoods that threatened to trap everyone. Brennan watched her leave with a mixture of awe and apprehension in his eyes. Jocelyn's participation in WSB things was growing, and her questions had hit closer to home than he expected. As night settled over Port Charles, a new chapter for Jason and Drew began to emerge. The brothers agreed to a temporary ceasefire, pooling their resources to discover the truth about the black box and the manipulations that had nearly cost Drew everything. Jason's return provided a sense of grounded strength, while Drew's sharper intellect signaled measured progress. Danny bonded with his cousins, a reminder that family survived despite the storms. Nina fled the mansion, her reckless action largely prevented, but not without consequences. She had sown seeds of doubt and bought valuable time, but the fear of exposure lingered. She shared fragments with Ava, her closest ally, and promised to improve her plan. Willow remained in the dark for the time being, but Elizabeth's challenges suggested that cracks were appearing in the veneer. Jocelyn reunited with friends, and her grilling of Brennan fueled a renewed resolve. She refused to allow the mysteries of Port Charles crush her family. Brennan's awful news repeated in her mind, threats from outside forces, internal betrayals, but she turned the information into action, cooperating with those she trusted. These folks' interwoven lives created a drama-filled tapestry. Jason paid Carly a brief visit, and their convoluted history came to light during private conversation. "Things are changing," he informed her. Carly nodded, aware of Brennan's involvement and the risks Jocelyn was taking. Lucas' apologies to people he had hurt brought a layer of healing to the pandemonium, while Dante's test of Chase emphasized the necessity of loyalty in law enforcement and personal relationships. Drew and Jason spent hours scheming, their new chapter characterized by mutual respect born of need. Drew discussed his rehabilitation, recalling events such as Nina's involvement. Jason's protective instincts aroused, but he advocated prudence. "We do this smartly, not recklessly." Their once fractured fraternity found new ground on the verge of discovery. Nina's crazy maneuver in the water became the topic of whispered conversations. It hadn't worked out as she had hoped, but it did push Drew to disclose more of his hand. She carefully planned her next steps, combining her love for Willow with self-preservation. The cover-up she feared would crumble showed indications of strain, but Nina Reeves was nothing if not tenacious. Jocelyn's showdown with Brennan stayed in her thoughts as she managed her dual life as a daughter, friend, and now someone involved in international intrigue. She resisted Brennan's recruitment efforts at times, asking clarification about his love for her mother and the hazards involved. Their conversation showed layers. Brennan's bad news was more than just operational. It also raised personal concerns, warning of threats closing in on those Joss cared about the most. Throughout the day and evening, Port Charles hummed with these unfolding stories. Elizabeth's challenge to Willow demonstrated how maternal impulses clashed with apparent dishonesty. Dante's test for Chase focused on themes of trust and preparation in the face of unpredictability. Lucas' apologies hinted to redemption arcs, which are minor mercies in a world of huge schemes. As Jason tucked Danny into bed that night, the youngster said, "It seems different now, Dad. Like we're starting fresh." Jason agreed quietly. The new chapter was not without danger, but it offered promise. Drew, in his own quarters, mused on Nina's bravado, bracing himself for the upcoming battles. Their sibling dynamic shifted from antagonism to reluctant partnership, resulting in a powerful alliance against common threats. Nina arrived home, fatigued but determined. Her reckless lunge had been a gamble, exposing both her insecurities and her fierce determination. She poured a drink and looked out at the city lights, planning how to turn the tide. Willow's happiness was vital, even when secrets threatened to emerge. Back at home, Jocelyn debriefed with a trusted confidant, and her questioning of Brennan yielded crucial insights. She felt empowered but wary, prepared to face whatever happened next. Brennan was the only one who noticed the young woman's tenacity, which intrigued and disturbed him equally. The Friday in Port Charles ended with these threads tightening. Jason and Drew's upcoming chapter promised unity and strength. Nina's unexpected move created confusion and desperation. Jocelyn's questioning of Brennan emphasized boldness and inquiry. In the world of General Hospital, where love, betrayal, and forgiveness danced endlessly, this day laid the groundwork for even bigger upheavals, leaving residents and viewers breathless for what would come next. The summer light shone brightly on the bustling streets of Port Charles, a town that never slept. Jason Morgan walked off the airport with his son Danny by his side. The weight of his recent absence lifted slightly as he saw familiar landmarks. The air hummed with the promise of change, and for Jason, it meant reconnecting with the family he had battled so hard to keep safe. Danny, now a teenager dealing with his own issues, looked at his father with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. "Dad, things feel different here," Danny observed gently as they walked toward the automobile waiting to take them home. Jason nodded, his impassive visage concealing the tempest of emotions raging beneath. He had returned not only for himself, but also to fill the holes that time and secrets had created, particularly with his brother Drew. The Quartermain mansion loomed ahead, a reminder of legacy and unresolved conflicts. Drew Kane had faced his own challenges, including injuries that had strained his willpower and relationships. Drew approached Jason and Danny at the door, his arms still in a modest sling but his eyes bright with intent. The brothers hugged in a rare moment of tenderness, one that conveyed volumes without words. "It's good to have you back, Jason," Drew replied, his voice steady. "We've got a lot to catch up on." Jason's homecoming signaled the beginning of a new chapter for them both, one in which old rivalry gave way to alliance. They had spent years on opposite sides of family conflict, corporate wars, and personal vendettas, but recent events had resulted in a shaky understanding. Drew's brush with death had changed his viewpoint, and he valued the blood connections that tied them more than the Quartermain fortune or past betrayals. Inside the mansion, the talk progressed from surface pleasantries to more profound disclosures. Jason revealed bits of his time away, including the dangers he experienced and the clarity it provided. Danny listened closely, absorbing his father's lectures on devotion and survival. Drew spoke openly about his recovery, the physical therapy that tested him to his limits, and the emotional toll of regaining trust with those around him. "I thought I had it all figured out," Drew said, pouring coffee for them both. "But waking up every day knowing how close I came, it changes things." Jason, a man of few words, provided silent encouragement. We're family. We'll figure it out together. This new chapter wasn't about erasing the past, but rather about building on it, perhaps by working together to defend the next generation or navigating the seas of Yelku and Aurora Media. Danny observed them, sensing a shift, and for the first time in a long time, the house felt like a home rather than a battlefield. Meanwhile, at Crimson, Nina Reeves paced her office like a caged lioness. Her thoughts raced with plots and anxieties, mainly about Drew and the secrets that threatened to destabilize her carefully created life. Nina's impulsive move was motivated by desperation, the kind that only a mother protecting her daughter could incite. She'd vented to Ava earlier, her words fierce and urgent. Drew's recovery is accelerating everything, Nina acknowledged, her hands quivering slightly. If he remembers more, if he connects the dots. Ava, ever the opportunist, had listened with deliberate sympathy, but Nina had already moved on. Her strategy included a risky partnership and a daring showdown that may either secure or ruin